your collage, you would stand in that, the last collage you made, right, with the happy people and being successful. You would stand there looking back into the present. Look, right? Not from the present looking towards the future. Remember, you created an empty space in the future drawer, so now standing in the future has no constraints, no limits, and nothing to shape the created future you're going to create in that empty space. In other words, you're free to create a future that fulfills the matters of fundamental interest or importance to the relevant parties, including those who granted the leadership, those who led you, and those you lead. By the same token, as we said, you do so looking from the future you are creating back to the present. In other words, the future you are creating has to be allowed by what is so in the present. It can't be a fantasy. What we've said so far about the design context in which the created future is created. 1. You create the created future looking from the future you are creating back to the present, so that the future you are creating is allowed rather than constrained by what is so in the present. A future, the realization of which fulfills the matters of fundamental interest and importance to the relevant parties, including those who granted the leadership, those who lead, and those you lead. Now we will complete the design elements of this context. So there's the first 2 that we just read. Number 3 is, in realizing the created future, the people you are leading, those who must act to realize that created future, must see an opportunity to fulfill their concerns. So you have to see an opportunity to fulfill your concerns. In the realizing that future, the people you are leading must see an opportunity for self-expression. In the realizing of that future, the people you are leading must see an opportunity for them to personally make a noteworthy contribution to the realization of that future. So here they all are. I'm not going to read them all again. The future is now. When the future you're creating is true to the 5 elements of the design context for creating a created future, it will be a future that leaves you and the people you are leading moved, touched, and inspired. For it to become the future into which you and the people you are leading are actually living into, it is critical that there be a significant level of emotion, feeling, and attitude associated with that future. For the brain, that means the future is significant. It is critical that you understand that the created future must belong to those who must act to realize that created future. While it must powerfully belong to the leader, it must also powerfully belong to those who must act to realize that created future. We will say more about this in the section, Who You Need to Be When Creating a Created Future. Discover the difference in your experience of what it looks like when you are living into a past-derived default future as contrasted to what it looks like when you're living into a created future. Review the design elements. So this you would do on your own. What happens in the brain with such a created future? If the future you are creating is true to the 5 elements of the design context for a created future, and you and the people you are leading are moved, touched, and inspired by that future, you will have created a pattern in the brain that operates like a predicted future. However, it will have even more energy than the pattern of the past-derived predicted future, especially the default past-derived future from which you have removed all significance. Do you get that? It will have, so you have created a pattern in your brain that operates like a predicted future, and it will have even more energy than the pattern of the past-derived predicted future. Especially the default past-derived future from which you have removed all the significance. As a consequence, the neural patterns that generate your and the people you are leading's way of being, attitude or state of mind, feelings, emotions, bodily state, and thoughts and thought processes, including creative imagination and planning, and the associated neural patterns that generate your and the people you are leading's actions will be consistent with realizing this creative future. In other words, the way of being and acting for you and the people you are leading will naturally be consistent with realizing that created future. Give the brain a created future that matches the 5 elements of the design context for a created future, and it will make way of being and acting in the present consistent with realizing that created future. Any questions about that? Is that clear? Who you need to be. You have had the following examples of the kind of being required to be a leader. Being authentic is required to be a leader, and being free to be is required to be a leader. So by now, the phrase, the being of being a leader, probably no longer leaves you wondering just what is meant by the being part of being a leader. You may not yet have the whole picture, but by now, you at least have a sense that there is a way of being when being a leader. In any case, without whatever that being is, you can't be a leader or exercise leadership effectively. Now we're going to look at what you need to be to lead the creating of a created future. To effectively lead the creation of a created future that fulfills the 5 elements of the design context for creating a created future requires that you be that future. This does not mean that you personally create the future, rather that you are the future to be created. You are the future in the sense that you constitute yourself as the place where the created future comes together. And then, when it has come together, you constitute yourself as that future. Who you are and your life become about the creation and realization of that future. Bill George shares his experience of the choice of being required of a leader to live as the future of his enterprise. Quote, "There was rarely a time when I could put aside thoughts about my work and focus entirely on other things." Bill George constituted himself as the future of Medtronics. When he was the CEO of Medtronics, Bill George led Medtronics from the created future of Medtronics, and that is what his life was about, the creation and realization of Medtronic's future. Leading the creation and realization of a created future involves some sacrifice of other ways of being that are either put on the back burner or, if they are obligations, need to be effectively managed in order to fulfill those ways of being. As economists will tell you, there's no such thing as a free lunch. We said that leaders being the created future does not mean that the leader personally creates the future. To quote Kuzma and Posner about creating a shared vision, throughout the talk over the years about the importance of vision, many leaders have reached the unfortunate conclusion that they as individuals must be visionaries. With leadership development experts urging them along, they've taken to posing as emissaries from the future. In fact, it's extremely rare for the leader to personally create the created future. Most often, what comes together as the created future is a combination of what others contribute directly and what is prompted by others. In many situations, it is critical that the created future be created exclusively by those who must act to realize that future. As we mentioned earlier, it is critical that those who must act to realize the created future experience that future as belonging to them. The more of these people who participate in contributing to the future that comes together, and the more fully they do so, the greater will be their experience that that future belongs to them. In fact, the more fully the people you are leading participate, the less direct participation from you as a leader is required or even desirable. The leader's contribution, that is, the act of leading and creating a created future, is to guide and shape the conversation that develops the future being created. Because leaders have constituted themselves as the created future, as a place where the created future lives and therefore appropriately comes together, such leaders can rely with confidence on what of the contributions of others belong in the created future. As such, you will be able to trust what you hear and see as belonging to that created future or not. You have constituted yourself as a future that fulfills the 5 elements of the design context for a created future. The design elements for a created future. 1. This future fulfills the matters of fundamental interest or importance to the relevant parties, including those who granted the leadership, those who lead you, and those you lead. 2. This future comes from the future looking back to the present so that the future is allowed by, not derived from, but allowed by, what is so in the present. This is not a pipe dream future. 3. The realization of this created future. The people you are leading, those who must act to realize that created future, see an opportunity to fulfill their concern. 4. In the realizing of this future, the people you are leading see an opportunity for their self-expression. 5. In the realizing of this future, the people you are leading see an opportunity to personally make a noteworthy contribution to the realization of this future. When the future has come together, as leader, it is your job to now articulate and communicate that future in a way that those who must act to realize that future see. In the realizing of that future, 1, an opportunity to fulfill their own concerns, 2, an opportunity for self-expression, and 3, an opportunity to personally make a noteworthy contribution to the realization of that future. Each time there is a breakdown in the process of realizing that future as a leader, it is your job to constitute that breakdown such that for those who must act to successfully deal with that breakdown, in doing so they see 1, an opportunity to fulfill their own concerns, 2, an opportunity for self-expression, and 3, an opportunity to personally make a noteworthy contribution to successfully dealing with that breakdown. So here's the framework for leader and leadership as a whole. 12 slides. First aspect, leader and leadership as linguistic abstractions. As linguistic abstractions, leader and leadership create leader and leadership as realms of possibility, in which, when you are being a leader, all possible ways of being are available to you. And when you're exercising leadership, all possible actions are available to you. Second aspect, leader and leadership as phenomenon. As phenomena, leader and leadership exist in the sphere of language, whether it be literally speaking, or speaking in the form of writing, or speaking and listening to yourself, that is thinking, or the speaking of your actions, as in actions speak louder than words, or in providing a certain kind of listening. Leader and leadership as concepts. As concepts, leader and leadership exist in the temporal domain of a created future, a future that fulfills the concerns of the relevant parties that the leader and those being led come to live into, which future gives them being and action in the present, consistent with realizing that future. Leader and leadership as terms are based on the previous 3 aspects of leader and leadership. What you will see when you see someone actually being a leader and exercising leadership effectively will be as defined. As a term, being a leader is defined as committed to realizing a future that wasn't going to happen, that fulfills the concerns of the relevant parties, and with the availability of an unlimited opportunity set for being and action. Being the kind of clearing for leader and leadership that shapes the way the circumstances you are dealing with occur for you, such that your naturally correlated way of being and acting is one of being a leader and exercising leadership effectively. Leadership is defined as an exercise in language that results in a created future that the leader and those being led come to live into, which future gives them being and action in the present that results in the realization of a future that wasn't going to happen, which future fulfills or contributes to fulfilling the concerns of the relevant parties, including, critically, those who granted the leadership, those who lead you, and those you lead. So, here's the context it uses here. Get ready. So you see leader and leadership as linguistic abstractions. See at the very top? Right there, you have that. Leader and leadership as a phenomenon. What you see as lived. Leader and leadership as terms, a definition, which I just read. Leader and leadership as concepts, the domain, the temporal domain, the future, all based on integrity, authenticity, something bigger than oneself, and cause in the matter. What emerges is the being and action of leadership. So there, you now have, by the power invested in me, I declare you the being and action of leader and leadership. Your brain has been programmed. Anything you have to say about any of this?
It was very interesting.
Huh?
Very interesting. Okay. It changed our mind.
Hmm?
It changed our mind.
It changed your mind, yeah.
Or talked about
Yeah. So your brain is now programmed for being a leader in effective exercise of leadership. As your natural self-expression, as it would be, because it's now a natural self-expression. There's no thinking needed about it. It's like getting on a bicycle and balancing. Even if you resisted it, even if you didn't like it, even if you didn't want to, even if you did like it.
So from this moment we will be leaders?
You will be used by this contextual framework built on these four foundational factors.
But
You might could use some practice.
yes,
Yeah?
yes, of course.
Yeah, it's like, gee, how do you create a creative future, and what are they, all of that. But you went through creating a creative future. That's what we did. That's what this whole class is. We created a creative future.
but we are not complete without constraints.
Well, that would be the next part. You see now, you have this huge pipe full of power, right? You're pushing all this power out into life. And human being, there's some things in our blind spot that kind of constrains the expression of that. And distorts it. So in the next classes, we are going to remove those distortions. On Tuesday, I think next week is the last week of classes, but we can maybe go the next week if you want to. Yeah? That's my understanding of how it works. And I want to, so I'll be here. But on Wednesday, Dimitro will be here to present certificates.
You mean
Let me get
Wednesday tomorrow?
Huh? No?
Wednesday tomorrow or next week?
Next. Let me get the calendar here. See, here's next week. Right here, Wednesday, 12/11. Okay? And officially, the classes end here. And we will be doing classes these days. 12, 17, and 19. And in this time, we will be removing constraints. If you want to do a collage, like I suggested, you're welcome to do the collage, and then you'll actually see this in your own life, in what you're dealing with. You'll get to see something disappear. Human beings have the notion that you can't disappear anything, but you can. And when you disappear something, you take it, put it back there, you have an opening in which to create something. And it will actually, that opening will actually pull you into it. So, what else? What else? So here would be some homework. How are you leaving people? See what you can do to leave people in a better place than they were before you got there.
How are you leaving people? What?
Yeah, how are you leaving people?
Where?
Leaving?
Yeah, leaving. Yeah, that might be difficult to translate. So, in your interactions with people, when you leave them, how are they left?
Concerned about the speech they had. Concerned about the speech they had.
Concerned?
About the speech we had.
Well, the homework is to see how do you leave people in a better place than
It depends.
it depends, right? That's the homework. How are you leaving people? See what you can do to leave people in a better place than they were before you got there.
You mean leaving people at all?
Leaving people in a better.
Not see them again.
If our aim was to make
So
them
for
if our aim was or purpose or
all right.
plans to make them
For my having been in your life, when I leave, will I have left you in a better place or not?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you want to find out
Oh.
for yourself. Are you left in a better place for my having been in your life? Yeah, that's what you want to see. And you want to see what you can do to leave people in a better place.
Just speak with them.
Huh?
Just speak with them.
Well, whatever it takes. Just see what you can do to leave people in a better place than they were before you got there. Make sense?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the homework.
Okay.
What else? What else? We have a few more minutes. What else?
But if we had a disagreement with a person and then leave this person, maybe it won't be a better place for him or her.
Yeah, maybe. But your assignment is to see what you can do to leave them in a better place. So what have you gotten out of being in the course so far? What have you gotten out of being in the course so far? Huh? Anybody? I mean, I'm looking at you when I ask the question. What have you gotten out of being in this course? What have you accomplished from being in this course so far?
We are almost leaders.
Yes?
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. What else? Yeah.
Yeah.
What else?
And the way
What's been happening in your life? What have you-
I see that I start to think more.
You think more.
Yes, after our classes I go home and I think about our classes and that make me think about all things in my life and
Yes.
situations, and that's why I start to analyze them from other point of view.
Oh.
other is I start to speak with people in different manner. As I told once, I don't criticize people, don't judge them, and that really helps me. It really helps me to have good relationships.
So your relationships are better with people?
Yes.
And what you've seen so far, so you take what you've seen home and you use that view to look at other things in your life. All right, I'm getting what you said, practicing getting. And it makes you see things that you wouldn't otherwise see. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you said?
Again, I see things.
It makes you see things that you from a different perspective. That's what you said.
Yes.
Yes. Now, when you see things from a different perspective, what do you see, or what's that like? What does that give you access to?
When I see from the other point of view, from different perspective,
Yeah, perspective.
I understand the situation better.
So you're understanding
Yes.
other people's situation better,
Yes,
and your own situation
yes,
better.
and that's why I can make better decisions.
And you make better decisions from understanding their situation and your situation, and that is enabled because you're looking at it from another perspective.
Yes.
Very good. Got it.
And when I work in team.
In the gym?
In team. Like
Team.
In what?
In a team. Group. Team.
Oh, team.
Yes.
All right.
When I work with my classmates, I think I understood what means integrity, because now when we work together, I just want to be sure that what my results may be, and I want to make sure that other
Participants, yeah. People in your group.
are understand this like I understand our task and our maybe future results. So I think I learned how to work in team.
You learn how to work in a team,
Yes.
and everybody is you get everybody to understand the task,
Yes,
right?
because
Okay.
it is important in our faculty when we have such courses, when we should and when we must work in team, and it's important, I think.
Okay. And so what does that make available when that happens for the team? Okay, what does that make available? So when you make sure everybody is communicating and on the same page about what's going to be accomplished, yes?
Yes.
And then, so what does that make available that all that happens? What's the fallout of that? What's the results of that?
I think our results of our work can be better if we work just when we work like one soul, maybe
Like one person.
like one person,
One what?
When they work together, like they can be one person.
Like
Yeah.
a whole.
When you work as a whole,
Yes.
okay, as a team,
Yes.
you can produce better results.
Of course, because
Okay.
when one person think in this way and other person thinks in our other way, it is some difficulties maybe.
Yes. So you get everybody thinking aligned on what's going to be accomplished,
Yes.
and they're more efficient. Yeah? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
And maybe some.
Okay.
I can say about the future.
Okay.
Uh,
Before you go, you're going to have to say something.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay, about our future, my future. I can't really, I understand what you speak about taking the past out of the future, but now I realize that my practice is, I haven't enough practice, and that's why I think how I can do it. I have to practice it every day, yes, but I'm afraid that once the past will be again in my future and I can't put it away.
Uh-huh. That's when you call me.
Yeah,
or,
okay.
or one of the students, one of the other students. And do you know how you know when a past gets in your future? Do you know how to recognize
It's
it?
another problem. Maybe I
You have
can't-
no problem recognizing when the past gets in your future? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes? No problem.
No. Sometimes I think that I can't differ the creative future and future with my past.
Yes. So do you know how when the future in your past gets in your present? Do you know how your past gets in your future? Do you know how to recognize that?
No.
Okay. You
Maybe.
stop being happy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You stop being peaceful and you start thinking a whole lot and worrying a whole lot. Your past just got in your future.
Okay. I'll remember this.
Okay.
Okay, I have two examples.
Huh?
I have two examples.
Okay, good.
The one is that recently I had a class of subject, is no matter which subject, and I said to teacher that I'm gonna have an A. Mark A.
Wow, you told the
Yes.
teacher.
I had some
Like a
problems.
promise, huh?
Yeah, I had some problem with this teacher, and it was kind of difficult for me to have an A in this subject.
Sure.
But I said to her that, oh, today I'm ready for this lesson, for this class, and I'm gonna have A. And after the class, I've done it.
And you
Actually,
did
yes, I did it, and it was very amazing because what I said, I like transformed my brain, and I took some action, maybe some, I don't know how I done it, but actually I maybe generalized my brain in one stream and so on. I don't know how I done it, but actually
Yeah. Well, you don't.
I got
It's
it.
like getting on a bike. You don't
Yeah.
need to know how to balance. You
I
just
think
do
that I
it.
want to take it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. Exactly.
And another example is I already said about it that because of attending this course, because of learning all this stuff, I started to write my business plan,
You wrote a business
Yeah.
plan.
and it's in the process, and it's gonna become a real business.
Yeah.
Now I'm just writing it. And before I attended this course, I just had an idea about this business, but it was just an idea, and I didn't know how to make it real, how to start it, where to find money, or how, I don't know, a lot of stuff. But then after learning all these things, I just realized that everything is possible, everything depends on us, on our world, upon the opinions, and if I want to do something, I need just to take some action and to say that I will do it. And it was true.
Awesome. Congratulations.
And
The power of your word.
yes.
Yeah. Wow. Any Anybody, anything else? We have no minutes left.
It was excellent speech. We have nothing to say.
It was an excellent speech.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for coming.